either need to coach them to be better.
Speed kills. Speed kills in business.
When you have a strong team player that you're playing with, like, magic things happen.
The faster you can make decisions, the faster you can execute.
In dental, I did it all the time. And it drove my team members.
Like you're talking about small team, quick execution, quick decision making. So would you take any reduction in returns right now?
I'm performing a lower interest rate in a refi next year.
Cash on cash, day one. It's not bad, but it wasn't what we wanted.
You gotta trust your gut. And these are my guts going. To weekly headlines and Project Pearls. In headlines, we unpack this week's biggest stories and share how they're shaping our own personal wealth building decisions in real time.
Then in Project Pearls, we'll pull back the curtain on our real estate deals and share the wins, the challenges, and the learning opportunities.
We have a great show today. With me today is the Sultan of Smart Money, Dr. Reed Fald. What's new with the family, Reed?
What's new with the family? Let's see. So we're trying to soak up the fall vibes, right? So it's apple orchards, it's pumpkin patches, it's, pictures with the leaves falling. So we're getting the fall vibes. We gotta drive 2 hours to visit my brother and go to basically it's like a fair, but like a festive, like a fall fair. So there's like the corn cribs and all that. So it'll be a lot of work, but we'll get some pictures for the gram, and do what we got to do. But it's fun. It's fun. It's more work than fun, but it's still fun.
When I reflect on like what matters, like this is the stuff that matters, right? Even though it feels like a to-do list, checklist for the family, right?
No.
Like this is what I call being present.
Yes.
Right? Being present, and this is what matters. And actually on my epic year 2026 for next year, I do put like holiday rituals, right? I need to really identify the holiday rituals, make time for them. And what are those rituals? Because kids remember that stuff, right?
Yes.
What is our Halloween or Fall Festival or Halloween holiday ritual going to be? What is our Thanksgiving Halloween ritual going to be? What is our It doesn't need to be a lot of things, but like, reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," right? You see that in the movies, right? That's a holiday ritual, and the kids always remember that, and they do that for our kids. And it takes 3 minutes, right? That's like the easiest part of our day, right? But I feel like as parents, we need to be intentional about those things.
Yeah, I have like the traditions. Like my wife and I was just talking about like putting a game plan together of like what do we want for our children's childhood and just try to be as intentional as possible. And one of those things was traditions. It's just a simple thing, but putting a little effort behind it. There was this, I'm going to butcher this, but I was reading something and basically said like you will spend the majority of your life knowing your kids as adults and only a small sliver of it knowing them as kids. And so like you got to recognize that you're in that small sliver moment and you need to get more out of it. And proportionally, their childhoods are so much bigger in their mind than their childhood is in your mind. And so the importance of putting together a good childhood for your kids is like probably one of the most important things you could do.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have to do it. We'll have to do one on parenting. We'll have to have a call on parenting sometime because it's important. I think for all of us busy professionals. But
I think we need to, like my avatar for that is like Clark Griswold.
Oh,
that's who I need to be for every holiday. That's like my.
I love that. Channel him. Just don't fall off any ladders if you can help it. So what's new with you? You said family traditions is important.
Yeah, what's funny? My wife, like, it's funny. I always think the marriage dynamic is interesting. Like sometimes she's actually asking my opinion, and sometimes she's asking me when she asks me a question to validate a decision she's already made, right? So when she asks me, I pause and I think, has she already made this decision, or is she actually looking for feedback? It's just feedback or validation. So, I was doing all my work calls yesterday, and she's giving me like hand signals, and I can't focus. I'm a guy, I can do one thing at a time. I'm like, leave me alone. And like after I got off my call, I was like, what's up? She goes, come on. So she takes me downstairs and takes me down to like a downstairs bedroom. So we have like 3 levels, so it's in the downstairs, and it's all painted like this, like library den, like dark green, right? Almost brown, right? Like a like a wealthy old money office, right?
Okay.
Like our library's like that. It's
It
like a darker
smells of
blue.
rich mahogany and
Yeah, smells
dark
like
and moody,
that kind
cigar
of color.
smoke. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I look at it and I'm like, well, she's not asking for my feedback. She's already done it, right? She was looking for validation, right? So I was like, this one was obvious. So I was like, oh, looks great. My gosh, this is so cool. And then like in my brain, I start hearing how I should have seen this coming. Okay. Because when we moved in, we had most of the house painted like the same color. Okay.
Mhm.
Like a little off-white. It's a nice soft color. And but we didn't have like all the downstairs painted that color, only some of it, like down the stairway. So she already painted like the big downstairs den where we watch movies on the big couch, right? She already had that all painted and the rest of the hallway painted. And she's been making comments like that downstairs room is just so white, just stark white. And like, I should have put this together that this was coming, right? And so yeah, I walked down there and she's full on painting the whole thing. And we've already put carpet in there, so I don't know how she's going to paint the baseboards around the carpet. And it has some old like HVAC like tubes going across the ceiling. And but anyways, I thought that was funny. That was definitely a wife validation request, not an opinion request. So that was
Yeah. That
pretty
the on the quick on the outfit thing, like, like getting asked like, what do you think of this outfit or whatever. Like there's one thing I hate, and I don't know if you hate, but like I'm super punctual, but my wife is not. And so if we're late, it's usually her fault, right? And it's usually yeah, this is my and usually it's because it's like, I gotta find this outfit and part of it is we're having babies right now, right? We're in that stage of life. So it's just like constantly, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. And so like we have this kind of ritual now where I'm like, let's go shopping. And for like an hour, all I'm gonna do is bring you things I think, that I think you're gonna like, and we're gonna crank through and get you like 10 new outfits. And then, we'll be good and we'll get out of the door a little earlier. It doesn't always work like that, but she likes it. It's good.
You're
She's
one
like,
of
I
the
like, yeah. It's
few
it's like
people I
speed shopping.
know who are crazy about intentionality as I am.
Yeah.
You're a rare bird, sir. Very much. Let's build a plan for success. I love it.
Problem solution, problem solution.
Me too. Problem, consequence, solution. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Headlines. Read. What's new in the news this week?
Yeah, so I've just read a lot. I kept hearing this term debasement trade. And so yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. We should touch on it. Because I was listening to the description of debasement, and then also, we get these talks of inflation. And essentially I was trying to delineate like what is the difference and how is this actually changing people's decision making? And essentially how I understand it is debasement of currency happens in a lot of different countries, right? Like this is the big push for, I think, Bitcoin in the first place was Bitcoin, gold, right? Like commodities, like a way to preserve wealth beyond the fiat currency so that if something happens with your government, they make poor fiscal decisions, rack up a lot of debt, have to print money, inflate the currency. Essentially, that is debasing the currency. And so I was reading that a lot of people think our debasement is like 10% a year, right? And you think of inflation and all that. Inflation is a symptom of debasement, of currency debasement. And so I'll stop there. I mean, do you have thoughts on as I state that? Otherwise, I'll get
Yeah, I think we got to think of two separate parties here too. So, who invests in the U.S.? You have U.S. citizens, okay? So they're afraid of like inflation, debasement, right?
Mhm.
But we're not really probably like inflating and debasing any faster than any other country, right? It's like, yes, maybe debasement's happening faster in the US than it has historically, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna buy money in China. Like that's a better way to go, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like you you could diversify your debasement, right, by investing in a bunch of different currencies, but and then there's foreign governments. Okay. So foreign governments like China, some of the other governments had put huge swaths in the US currency, right? Like most stable currencies is where we want to be. But when those other countries like A have a political issue with us, or B feel like maybe now we're debasing at the same rate as them, right? Then like why like there's not really a strong reason to keep it in US to invest in the US, right? Currency or whatever. So I think two separate parties. Um, and then there's like the large institutionals as well, like the large bank, like 2 billion, right? Like those guys. Um, yeah, in the billions, right? And so it's as we think about debasement and people moving into gold, into moving into crypto, I want to say the biggest players are these foreign governments. The institutions are third, okay, or
Okay.
second, and then U.S. citizens, which we hear the most about in news and like what you see the most in the news pop up, is probably like third in line to what actually affects like driving up the price of gold, right? Or yeah, other things. So
Because it's demand for those assets. As the demand increases, that's why you're seeing prices go up. So there are more buyers right now, and that's why gold is shot through the roof. That's why I think they believe Bitcoin is going to have another big run here. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's still the U.S. dollar is still considered the world reserve currency for the time being. I think something like 60% of world transactions happen through the dollar or something like that. Might have just dipped a little bit below that, but I think that was one of the goals of Trump and the administration was like to keep maintain the world reserve currency in the dollar and keep those world transaction volume above 60%, something like that. I haven't followed it closely, but it makes sense that the US dollar is still the best place, right? But as a US citizen, knowing that there's debasement still happening, knowing inflation is there, you got to find a place for your dollar to be invested. You don't want to just stockpile cash. So I think that's where it kind of leads to what action do you take to kind of hedge against that? And we've talked about it, right? Like for us, mainly it's real estate. But yeah, you definitely have to keep that in mind.
don't keep your yeah keep your safety your nest egg your safety fund in cash, but that's it, right? Whatever that is, 6 months of living expenses, keep that in cash. And if you want more liquidity than that you can access, like that's nice too, right? Like I own a lot of real estate properties, I own a lot of businesses. I need an oh crap fund that's not just like my personal emergency fund. I need to like if I ever needed to bail out a real estate property or a business, like I need cash for that, right?
Yep.
Now I don't need to keep that all in cash because that could be a lot, right? That could be a million, $2 million. So, like that piece, you could keep part of it in Bitcoin, easy to liquidate, right? You could keep part of it in gold, easy to liquidate. You could keep part of it in stocks, easy to liquidate, right? All three of those could fall at any given time, right? And unfortunately, Bitcoin and stocks are pretty correlated, right?
Yep.
And so if both of them fall, you're like, I don't want to take money out of those. They just dropped in value, right? And so it might be good to have like an asset that's non-correlated, that's liquid, that holds like gold. Like in my mind, unless you're trading gold, we mentioned this last week, you can't make money off of it if you're a long-term holder of gold. It just matches inflation in my mind, in my research. So it's only if you're trading it can you actually make money, but it does hold value, right? Steady with inflation over long periods of time. So that's how I kind of look like it is have your liquidity, some in cash, the least amount possible, and
Mhm.
then some in something else, money market, right? Earning 4% or something. There's another good example.
Some yield, because it's losing value, so you need some yield on it along the way. I had a
Mhm.
friend who's from Egypt, and he was just telling me that everyone just buys assets. You like never have more than 10,000 like equivalent US dollars in Egypt because the value of the currency is so all over the place that people are always just we got to buy real estate, we got to buy whatever. I mean, we're glad that in the United States it's not to that level of like extreme where you want to hold something that's constantly falling and going up and down. But you could see, it could get to that point. Like in theory it could, but I wouldn't bet on it. Um, but yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting how other countries have that problem on a very extreme level. And I think that was coming through with like Argentina recently too with their
That's a
currency. It's
hundred percent a
yeah.
great point. And in US, to get rid of this debt, if you run the math, the only real way to do it is through inflation. Okay. We're not saying runaway inflation, but we're saying like instead of like the 2.5 to three they want it to be, right? Like real inflation, just anecdotally, like you can tell it's higher now and will probably continue to be higher, right? 4, 5, 6, 7%. And so, yes, you need to think more like an Egyptian, right? Maybe not complete, but yeah.
Yes, yes, keep that in mind.
Okay.
Well, that's all I had on in the news headlines there. So what do you should we move to Project Pearls?
Sure. Reed, what have you learned this week that can help our audience from your
Oh,
projects?
you're gonna make me go first this week. Okay. Let's see. So right now, what I think maybe I said this last week, but right now what we're dealing with a little bit is we have some stronger Hispanic multifamily, like our multifamily, some of our multifamily properties have a higher proportion of Hispanic um residents.
You have
And
not said this. This is
oh,
new.
I did. Okay, this is new. I couldn't remember if we talked about it. So one of the things, there's been a little bit of, fear around some of the ICE raids and stuff like that. And so I think that even now it's more important to have strong communication with our residents. And if there's a language barrier, what we've realized is we really need to bring in on-site property manager that is bilingual, that can communicate with the tenants if they have maintenance requests and issues. And otherwise, if they're not communicating to us, what tends to happen is they'll have a no notice move out where they just leave, right? And you
Yeah.
don't want that because
Yeah.
yeah, so that's one thing problem we're trying to solve now of just strong communication with the tenants. It doesn't have to be Hispanic, right? But just in general, through property management operations, you want to have tight lines of communication with your residents so that as problems come up, they feel like they're getting addressed quickly and then therefore they stay. I mean, it's just like in your dental practice, retention is much easier than generating new patients.
Yeah.
With a multifamily, it's much easier to retain tenants than it is to go get new tenants. So
Yeah.
just to focus on retention across the portfolio.
That's a good point. Meeting people where they're at. Like this is real for them, right? Ice raids. They've had family members, they have cousins, they've heard it, right? They fear it. Like that's a great point.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't go over mine last week, so I've got kind of a deluge to hit you
yeah.
with, I think. I'll just kind of flow with
Oh,
it.
I'll get comfortable then. It's going to be a little bit.
These are good, guys. These are good. So these are all like my life lessons the last 2 weeks. Um, I think, currently we're under construction on a couple projects, right? 84 townhomes, and then 30 apartments on one building right now. And what I've noticed is my construction partner, Wes, rocks. Um, and when I just kind of reflect back over the years, right? Like I'm working with somebody on a project or I'm working with somebody on a business and like things just aren't getting done.
Mhm.
I used to like reflect, like always like seek to understand like what am I doing that could influence this and make this better,
Yeah.
right? And I still do that, but what I realize most of the time is it's not me, it's them. Right? It really is. Like I know who I am now, and like if we're not getting stuff done, then it's them.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I got lots of flaws. I'm not saying that, but it's
Yeah.
like, look, I've done enough successful things. Like on my end, it's going to be successful, even though I could always do things better. Like if we're not like getting there, like it's them. With my construction partner Wes, like it gets done. Like he just adds value, right? He just gets stuff done and he does it well and he comes up with good questions and he's just very reliable, right?
Mhm.
And so I think the big lesson here, guys, is when you're working with your dental teams, you're working on your side business, you're working with your contractor, your architect, your engineer, whoever, if things aren't going well, I mean, you got to know you're strong first, right? You got to like come with integrity. What is integrity? Do what you say you're going to do by the time you said you're going to do it. And if for some reason you're not going to, you need to let people know, hey, I can't get this done. I'm apologize, but I will have it done in 3 days, right?
Mhm.
Like one, and then communication, right? You got to communicate with people and be clear with them. So, like, if you're doing those things and something's not working out, it's typically them.
Yeah.
And you either need to coach them to be better, which is always what I try first, or you need to replace them. And where most people fail and where I fail sometimes is I just don't replace them fast enough, right? I try to coach them up and then it's just like just forever, right? So anyway, so when you have a strong team player that you're playing with, like magic things happen, right? So go find that strong team player and stop yeah. Next thing, I talked about the tenants in common as a tool.
Mhm.
That is working well. So tenants in common, the main advantage that we talked about before is when you're wanting, if you're partnering with people and you're wanting to 1031 out of a project independently, use the tick structure. It's a great way to cleanly, hey, we'll do this project together, but then after this, you can go your way, I can go my way, we can do it together again, but it gives that flexibility. So that's been nice. Um,
We can at some point we should do an episode on partnership structures. Just
yeah,
like, basically this is when you should apply this, this maybe when you should apply this. And I think people would find that useful and helpful.
that would be good. The other thing I've noticed about like teams, okay, is like on some of my projects, we have such like a core small team that we can just make decisions and pivot and get stuff
Quickly. Yeah.
done and turn it into like go from first gear to fifth gear for a week if we need to. And other people just can't do that. These people that have been in organizations with a bunch of people in them, they can't pivot, they can't retrain, they can't rethink. They can just do what they've done for the last 10 years, right? So this is like the same what happens with like tech companies, right? The older tech guys, like the owners of Facebook and all these guys, they're always like, dude, like these young tech guys, they don't have any inertia. They can just innovate and like execute, right? So that is like the advantage that young tech startups have that the older ones don't. And I think it's the same thing when I'm like in construction or development. I can just tell that like these other folks that abundance mindset. I don't really think competition, but like the other people are doing what we're doing. How can we outperform them? They're just not nimble, right? They're just not like innovating new solutions and just like knocking stuff out. Like when somebody asks me a question or something, like a bank or whatever, I just like reach out to my people. They give me the information quick. I dissolve it, I repurpose it and send it back, right? In a normal organization, that would take like 2 to 3 weeks and we can do it in like 24 hours, right?
Yep.
Like 4 hours. So it's just like it's hard
Speed
to compete against that, right?
Speed
Like
speed kills. Speed kills in business. Like
speed
the
kills.
faster you can make decisions, the faster you can execute, and the bigger you are, right, in terms of that kind of administrative bloat that we kind of talk about, the slower things go. I mean, government is the extreme example, right, of not being nimble. And then the small startup, like you're talking about, small team, quick execution, quick decision making.
It's
It's yeah,
it's so helpful. So like in your dental practices, right? You're like, oh, we should roll this out. Well, I gotta like sit down with the assistants, get their buy-in, sit down with the hygienists, get their buy-in, train on it, make sure the front to the front to the back, the communication, right? Even in a small dental team of like 6 to 12, it still takes work, right? And when you're working with like, you know, 2 to 4 owners of businesses, right? The owner of the construction company, the owner of the architecture firm, yourself, you can just like get stuff done.
yes.
So if you're facing that inertia, it's either you got the wrong team, right? Or your team's too big, right? And so yeah, I think that's a good take home.
And you don't have the right structure within your team if it's starting to get a little bit bigger. You need to
Yeah,
have that established structure of
that
where
too.
decisions are made. And yes, okay,
Get knocked out.
like it.
Um, Another one that came up on one of my projects is back when I was doing dental, man, I would always try to like every time I make a decision, try to gather every possible option out there and then pick the best like model out there and then implement that model. The problem is it's a lot of work. Like you're constantly like adapting new things and teaching team members and updating them. And it's just the pace of evolution is a lot for most people, right? For me, it's no big deal. It's how my brain works. But for most folks, it's like very painful, right? And so, what I've learned is keep it simple, right? So, like on one of my projects, it was a really good area for like high-end townhomes. Okay, like a really good area for high-end townhomes. And nobody has been like doing it, right? And I'm like, oh, dude, we could just like crush it. Like, like this would be so cool. And like I went through the model a ton, right? I do all my due diligence, the market, the rents, the construction costs, the analysis, the site design. Like I go through the whole process. Like it's not just like willy-nilly decisions. Like this took me like months, like on my other, like working on my other stuff. But like after we kind of like ran the site design and looked at the numbers, it was about the same as doing apartments. Okay.
Hmm.
It could be way better, but it's about the same. And I'm doing apartments next door. And it's just like when you weigh it down, unless the advantage is like huge compared to what you already do, right? Just do what you already do, refine
Don't
what you
pivot.
already
Don't
do,
pivot.
get better at what you already do, right?
Mhm.
Now, if it's like way better, right? And like who moved my cheese, right? That's like a whole book, right? And your cheese is moved, you got to pivot, right? But I'm doing apartments like very well, right? And let's just continue to refine that, right?
Mhm.
And let's not, it's easier for the team, right? Like the architect, we're going to use the same floor plan on this next building. It's going to be next to this other one, so we'll combine them. We'll probably do like a little gym on the side and a little gathering room on the side, right? But it's within the same like architectural structure. So I'm
Yep.
not paying like an extra 150K in architecture, right? I'm saving a bunch of money there. It's just it's just at the end of the day, unless you if you see a little bit of a potential gain, right, 20% or something, just stick with what you do and refine it, right? The pain of learning and changing and learn, it's just too much,
It's
right?
it's it's like 20% more margin for 150% more effort, right? Like it's just
Yes.
and more risk
Yes.
because you're pivoting. It's
Yes.
the concept I say too is and I don't know who said this, but it's do more and do better before you do new,
Yes.
right? Same
Yes.
same
Yeah.
concept.
Same concept.
Yes.
Just
I
don't. In dental, I did it all the time, and it drove my team members crazy, right? And
yep,
so I think that's a common dentist thing, right? So the one analogy I always think of is I take a red ball, I show everybody the red ball, and I throw it, and I say, okay, go fetch, right? So my whole team's like, all right, we're gonna get this ball, it's gonna be great, right? And like right as they're about to get that ball, I pick it up and I throw it the other way with a new idea, right? And it
yep.
drives them crazy. And so, especially the bigger team, it takes some more time, right? So just make whatever model you have the best it can be, unless the new model is 100% better.
Phenomenal. Yes,
Yeah,
it's worth the extra effort to
it's
do it.
worth the extra effort.
Yeah.
Okay. On another project, let's talk about market a little bit. So, anecdotally, the market is heating up. I'm seeing a ton of 1031 buyers come into the market. They want that 1031 money. They have the 1031 money and they want that depreciation.
Mhm.
Okay. We know interest rates have been cut. We think interest rates are going to be cut, another 50 to 75 basis points this year. Okay. And they think they're going to be cut another 50 to 75 basis points next year. Okay. So as a buyer, this buyer wants to buy this building because they think interest rates are going to go down. So A, they're buying it at a cheaper price today than they could buy it in 6 months. And
Mhm.
then two, they know that they can refi and pull some cash out later, right, with a better interest rate. So this
Yeah.
and the bonus depreciation. So you're seeing buyers come back into the market and come back into the market strong. So I just want people to know this is happening. So when people ask me like, "Hey, like, is it a good time to buy real estate?" My answer right now is get it while you can. Because if you're thinking about it, like now is a good time. Obviously
So
market dependent, asset class dependent, but just in general, if you're talking on a macro level, like prices are still down, real estate prices lag a little bit, but my sense of the market is prices are going to go up over the next year and a
what
half.
would you take any reduction in returns right now? Like if you have a buy box
Yes,
and kind of standard,
yes,
you would take a
yes.
little
I,
haircut.
I'm in my pro forma, I'm performing a lower interest rate in a refi next year, right? So my calculation isn't today's calculation. It's look, if we're buying this same property a year from now, right? And the cap rate's going to be 50 basis points higher, right? I'd rather buy it today and refi next year.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you got a great deal that's like giving you massive return, I'm just telling you, like, there are a lot of like value buys right now, right? A ton of them. And you're like, oh man, I just don't want to buy this because the interest rates aren't high right now, won't cash flow that well. I totally get that. and when things are going, when interest rates are going up and it's like 2 years ago, I get that. But like today, when it seems like interest rates are going to be going down, like this may be your chance, right? These next 6 months may be your chance to get these assets at a good price, right? So don't miss out on that.
Yeah, we're looking at a deal we had under contract, but we're deciding to let it go, and it's like 6% cash on cash day one. It's not bad, but it wasn't what we wanted. But it's like, oh gosh, if interest rates drop half a percent point, that'd be pretty good cash flow. Just need to make, we never want to speculate and put pro forma in for interest rates, but
You got to
yeah,
trust your gut, and
yeah,
and this is where my gut's going, right? So we talked about this before. Your current properties, once you add value, it takes work to sell them, right? You got to find a new property. It takes work, it takes time.
yeah,
That's a real investment in time. But your return on equity invested, even if you made a bunch of money, your return on equity invested right now is often like 2 to 3% per year, right? So you either need to cash out, refi that property, get that cash and roll it, or you need to sell it and 1031, right? Into the next property or opportunity zone into the next property. Okay. Those are like the tax beneficial ways to do it. So you can get your 15-20% return again, right?
yep, yep.
And so now I have all my properties, not all of mine. I have many of my properties on the market, and I am 1031ing those into the next ones right now. Okay.
Mm,
Because my next ones, either I'm buying at a lower price or I've already bought at a lower price, right? And I want to get those going. And then those ones, by the time they're done and complete, I I think I'm going to refi them for a pretty great rate, right? So like this is like I'm going. Like
You're moving. You're moving right now, moving and
I'm
shaking.
moving. This last cut and just where everything's headed, like with the jobs report not being great and AI taking jobs, right? Which means the government has to pump money into the economy and inflation and interest rates go down. Like to me, I'm moving. This
Cool.
is the time. So for me,
Okay,
good.
keep that in mind. Yep, good.
All right. Okay. That's headlines and Project Pearls.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. If you want to connect with us directly and keep the conversation going, join our private Facebook group. We'd love to have you in the discussion. If you want to see or listen to any of our other shows, you can find them on our YouTube channel by searching Dental Real Estate Partners. Or if you prefer to listen in podcast format, look for us on your favorite podcast app or streaming platform.
Content from Dental Real Estate Partners is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial, legal, or investment advice. All investments carry risk. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Always consult a qualified professional. Dental Real Estate Partners is not responsible for outcomes from actions taken based on this content.